Mother, do you think they'll drop the bomb? And this is, to me, one of my favorite Pink Floyd songs of all time. Mother, do you think they'll try to break my balls? Ooh, why, mother, should I build a wall? Yes, America should build a wall, but the Berlin Wall is very different than the wall we currently need. And our wall it works, and I love that Trump brought up Israel, because this is the issue with a lot of, I'm totally cool with the existence of Israel. I have a lot of Israeli friends. I believe in nations. I'm all about that shit. Here's the thing. There's politicians in the American government that are more supportive of Israel's protection against Hamas on one side and then the African migrants on the other, and they have walls, and walls work for Israel. And so when Trump pulled that unbelievably smart move of aligning these concepts, you know, where it's like, okay, so you support the wall in Israel, but not in America. It works in Israel, it'll work in America. And not only would it work, it's necessary as a statement, as a symbol, because as we know, the world does function in symbols. And to have a wall shows that we aren't the whore of the world that people seem to think we are. That they can just send any. And one of the reasons that they send these migrants, and there's a million reasons, it's mostly leftist because they want votes and they want these free nannies to raise their kids because the women are all empowering themselves and not being moms and stuff. But also because they'll make these minimum wage laws. Like Bernie Sanders, like $15 an hour, and that way no one is ever sad again. But no one's going to pay that. So you need to have non-Americans so that you can pay them $5 an hour, which is what it's actually worth to like pick bullshit. And so there's this strong need for these illegals, but it really is just taken down our country in so many ways. And I think that's cool that Trump acknowledged that, because it's going to be a lot harder once you bring Israel into it. And the nonsense word anti-Semitic, for those of you that don't know, Semite or Semitic is a language category that dates back to before the Assyrian Empire, and it actually includes Arabic. So if you criticize ISIS, you're being anti-Semitic. And wherever there's nonsense language, like cis heteronormative behavior and shit like that, you know it's propaganda and it's bullshit. Criticizing the media when it's heavily dominated by Jews who don't consider themselves white, and they write constantly just hit pieces on white America being like, you know, slave owning assholes. It's fine. That doesn't mean you hate Jews. It just means like you're pointing out some problems. And it's getting pretty interesting. Like I'll talk about LeBron James, and I'll get into this list. LeBron James said that he feels like a slave because of he's a professional athlete, like people can buy and sell him. And my first thought was slaves never got that kind of pussy, yo, or the shiny cars and stuff. Like if that was slavery, like slavery sounds, it's almost like remember that Christopher Walken sketch with the census, when Tim Meadows like, okay, so you're an unemployed circus performer married to a cheetah living alone with a bunch of chocolates in your apartment. And he goes, you put it like that, my life sounds pretty damn good. It's like when you describe slavery as being LeBron James, it sounds pretty sweet, but that's not my point. My point is he never apologizes for slamming white people, which he does all the time, and that's fine. I'll slam black people. One of them stole my bike. But, and I'm cool with that. You slam whatever. It doesn't matter. That's how jokes work. But he finally apologized to the Jews because he was mouthing a lyric. He was singing a lyric where he's like, I'm going to get that Jew money, nigga, or something. And the Jews were like, hey, LeBron, no, we're not cool with that. And he's like, you're not? And here's the funniest thing about the ownership of sports teams. 1/3 are Jewish. Only 1% of the population is Jewish, but yet 1/3 of sports franchises are owned by Jews. So it's like, I'm not really buying the whole oppression thing these days. When you're dealing with the fact that CNN is run by Jews and New York Times and all of the Hollywood studios and all the networks and Facebook and Google, the place where you get all your information, and most of the academics, a lot of the science, even the intellectual dark web, which is supposed to be the alternative to the mainstream Jewish stuff, mostly Jews. And again, I'm only criticizing this, not because, like, I'm all about merit, and I know that Jewish culture tries super hard to impress their moms and stuff, and so merit is awesome. But we're currently in a situation where the media is trying to overthrow the president, and academia is teaching everybody that America is horrible and that there's no difference in gender in children. And Hollywood is pretty much a pedophile factory, making predictive programming movies so that we accept things like Agenda 21 in the future. And Google is literally trying to overthrow the president by manipulating the information we get. Facebook is selling all of our information to China and not allowing conservatives or anybody on the right to have a voice. And everything I just named is almost totally run by Jews. And that's 1% of the population. So if I didn't point that out, if I was going to be like Lebron and be like, yo, but I like my car, sorry, Jews, you know, that's crazy. And of course, I'm not Jew hating. It's like, I had a Jewish grandmother. I always thought Judaism was a religion. And then I found out it was a race. And a lot of the race doesn't believe in God and they don't like America. And that's not cool. And if someone calls me anti-Semitic, just know I don't care. Like, that word doesn't mean anything. I've never called out Jews like this before because I always just figured they were hardworking. And, you know, if you want to take over the banks and the Federal Reserve and all that stuff, you know, go at it, nerds. Be nerdy. But now that there's a serious situation going on, I think it's time we all address that. And if we can verbalize it and talk it out, that way you don't actually develop what these people are live action role playing. Because I don't know any Nazis. And if anyone would know Nazis, it's me. I'm pretty right wing. I live in the woods. I have guns. I'm, you know, my friends are pretty all over the map. And I've never, ever heard anyone ever say we got to start killing Jews, ever. So, like, this is all a myth. And unless these media outlets start pumping the brakes about, like, 2-year-olds choosing their gender and all this bullshit, like, I'm going to start criticizing the dominant force, you know?